for the future, and I just wanted to let you know. Do I have your consent to record this and to utilize your responses within my project?
Yes.
Okay. So now we can officially start. When did you become interested in ASL?
It was in middle school. I became interested. I had 2 deaf classmates, and I was intrigued by how they communicated with one another without being able to hear. And that's when I started learning, and that's when I started getting into American Sign Language. And then I used to try to communicate with them, even though I was just a beginner. And then eventually that expanded my interest to take classes in high school and college.
Okay. And so you said you noticed that people around you were utilizing ASL, and you felt like you wanted to be able to communicate with them, right?
Yeah, because I thought it was really interesting how even though they weren't able to hear, have the ability to hear, they could still communicate and know with one another, what they're saying.
Right. Yeah, that is super interesting. And then the other thing I wanted to ask you was, obviously, as you know, there's even within American Sign Language, there's different styles and accents and things that are used. One of them being BASL, which you actually mentioned to me a long time ago, and it sort of stuck with me, and I thought it was really interesting. So, is there anything that you would like to say on that?
Yes, it was actually my freshman year of high school. We had this textbook, and it had, of course, ASL, grammar, style, all that. And then in one section, it had Black American Sign Language, and I was like, oh, I didn't know it was technically our own language. And then reading more into it, I remember my senior year of high school, we had to write a research project. So I researched about Black American Sign Language and how basically with racism and segregation back in the day, they went to their own schools, of course, because with segregation. And then so with segregation and them having to go to schools of their own.
Uh-huh.
So they had in a way, you can say barriers against them, because one of them being Black and then also being deaf. So with that, they felt excluded from their peers, within their own community as well, because they were deaf. And so with American Sign Language, not everyone, but everyone in the deaf community knows. But then with Black American Sign Language, it's different variations of signs.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, with standard American English we speak, but then there's also Ebonics or AAVE, which stands for African American Vernacular English.
Mm-hmm.
So within the deaf community, ASL is our Ebonics / AAVE, and then ASL is standard American English.
Right. Yeah. And then in terms of the importance of those different dialects and those different accents being present, be it through AAVE or BASL or you said Ebonics, what do you think that shows? Why do you think that things like that crop up? Is it in response to something, or how do you think that they help to express yourself?
So with ASL, sorry, can you repeat the question one more time?
So you mentioned how Ebonics and AAVE are sort of tied in with BASL. why do you think that things like AAVE have cropped up, as well as how do you think that they help you express yourself better?
Oh, that's a good question. So with AAVE, it's like how with American Standard English they call it slang and all that. So like how the way we talk and like our different accents and different words we use. So like if I'm saying I'm about to, like Standard English will say I'm about to do this, and then AAVE or Ebonics will be like I'm finna do this, or for like a slang term, they would say is like I'm gonna do this. So with BASL, it's still ASL, but it has its own different signs, like slightly different signs, different from ASL. So what I'm trying to say, so like even like right now when I said trying to, like what I'm trying to,
Yeah.
and then and so but I said what I'm trying to say. So it's like with BASL, people who know BASL feels like closer with their own community because one, they're Black, and two, they're also deaf, rather than like someone who's not Black but deaf. They both know ASL, but it's a different different dialect of ASL. So with like hearing people, as we call us hearing people, when we speak different languages, so our language that we speak is English, or not we speak because everybody speaks different languages, but for example, with English, and then with in my community, we also speak AAVE and Ebonics. So it just feels like a more connection in a way on how we talk to one another and how like we understand one another.
Right. I'm glad that you mentioned the stuff that it almost makes it feel like a deeper sense of community, because I know that's like so important with languages, and I think that that's sort of what I wanted to get at, and I'm glad that you were able to give me this interview, and to give me, and of course all my classmates, as well as my teacher who found